Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. And I'm very excited to be joined by Michelle Fielding from the UK. So she does channeling. She talks to the archangels and the angels and all of the ascended masters. So very exciting. She's like the female version of Mike. So Michelle, thank you for coming on and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, thank you for saying I'm your female version. That's a big compliment. Thank you.
Is
Uh,
that a compliment? Hopefully.
yeah, no, that's a big compliment. I always listen
Oh,
to
thank you.
your, I always listen to you with interest because I'm very interested about the fact that you can remote view and feel into situations. And quite often, when I then go away and look at that issue, I get the same things as you as well. So I think in that instance, we're on the same sort of resonance for sure.
Mm,
But as you said, my background is really about teaching about angels and archangels and ascended masters and how to raise your vibration and your consciousness and how to be on the ascension pathway. And so until all this happened, I didn't really do channelings about current events or politics.
yeah,
I didn't even know, I didn't even really know anything about Donald Trump or the USA. I couldn't have really explained to you your political system at all.
sure.
And I've just had this kind of crash course in learning. I know more about your political system and your political candidates than I know about my own.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's kind of taken the UK truthers by storm, really. We're kind of all supporting you. We're all patriots over here, in
Mhm.
our group. And, we feel your highs and lows as well, So obviously around January time, that was a big shock for everybody around that date. And, we all felt it too. So we're kind of all a big team spread
Right.
out around the world.
Excellent.
We're kind of cheering you on because, we obviously have our own things going on as well. And we are obviously all connected as such. But what I do kind of see the USA as kind of the pinnacle, the starting point for everything else, falling into place. Do
Hmm.
you think that? Do you think that?
Yeah, a lot of us have seen that, and that's interesting. It's kind of it's a wonder to me that the U.S. would be that pivot point. I remember going to some other psychics before, and they were saying that Russia was going to be the tipping point, like we're going to talk about in a second. But it does seem like America is going to be that factor. Maybe there's a lot of awakening that's happening in Russia. I've seen a lot of Russian people over the years, and they seem to be, awakening fairly quickly over there. So maybe we'll see. But from my perspective, and if we're going to get something really rolling here, it's got to come from America.
Well, when I'm just looking into Russia now, as you're speaking about it, I don't think the consciousness is anywhere near as high as America right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Mm.
think when you're kind of feeling in right now? It still seems quite low, actually, the consciousness, quite low.
Yeah, when I wrote the Intuitive Warrior a little over 10 years ago, I was contracted to actually come over and do some speaking in Paris, and I was very excited because I thought, oh, here, the birthplace of consciousness, going to Europe, and I was surprised. They rejected a lot of the stuff, the past life stuff that I was into. It was soundingly, rejected. You cannot talk about that. I'm like, okay, really? Okay, I will not talk about that. So, but all the other stuff was well received. The love vibration stuff and how
Yeah.
that affects consciousness and affects the environments and stuff like that. So it was extremely well received, and people picked up on that very very quickly. But yeah, I don't see Russia from my perspective, looking at it, as an intuitive, as having awakened to the point where it can make consciousness start to tip. Now, what do you see as far as the tipping point? I saw that just recently in the last 8 hours or so, you released
Yeah.
a tipping point.
Yeah.
Beautiful how you do that. It's like you're channeling information. It's like beautiful graphics and music. So well done on that.
Thank you very much. When I first started to do that, I didn't really know because I started YouTube around the same time as everything happened.
Hmm.
I had planned to do that anyway, so it kind of all really fitted into place. I'd already started to stop my groups and things, and so the whole pandemic kind of worked quite well for me. But in terms of putting my channelings to music and images and things, I wasn't quite sure how it would be received, but it's been received really well. So, you know, I'm actually well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
really know how that would go. But in terms of the tipping point, which I think you've heard me talking about before with Nick,
Right.
it's
Hmm.
about where we have this pot of collective consciousness, and once it reaches a certain level, we tip over into moving into sort of like the new world, the age of love. And what people have been getting confused with is I've been saying 60%, and they've been thinking that that means that 60% of the people have
Hmm.
to be awakened. But it doesn't mean that. What it means is that if you have 100% consciousness, if you're 100% awake and I'm 100% awake, and say our neighbour is only 5%, when you put all the percentages in a pot and you look down from the galactic viewpoint, if they can see that the pot is 60% full with
Yeah.
all of our light,
Hmm.
then that will be the point when they're going to start moving us forward again. Because we have been held by the galactics for, you know, a good few years now, while they've been putting these protections around us, and
Right.
they call it the grid of light. They've been protecting us in a grid of light. So about 2 days ago, I was actually away in my camper van, and I came home early because I felt something was moving, and I wanted to be able to channel it in my home, because you know when you're channeling, it's nice if you're in your own environment and you're in your own protection. And I did actually feel like there was something going on with the collective consciousness. So
Hmm.
I had a little conversation with them, which I can read to you if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Thanks.
Um, so I said to them, you know, have we reached the tipping point, which would be this point where we get this 60% collective consciousness?
Hmm.
And they said that we have reached the collective consciousness on planet Earth, which is required to begin the process of ascension from 4D to 5D for the planet Earth.
Wow.
And I said, what has caused the shift? And they said the shift has been building momentum internationally and has now reached its capacity as a collective to initiate the next phase of planetary awakening and ascension.
Mm.
And I said, so, you know, how is this going to look in practical terms? You know, are we
Excellent.
going to start getting lots of disclosure? You know, I wanted to know how that would look. And they said that the White Hats and the Alliance will now start to disclose truths in bigger and faster terms.
Yeah.
So I said, can they explain what they mean by that? And they said, things that the masses were unwilling or unable to hear, see, feel, and know previously will now begin to change. And the White Hats and the Alliance are now ready to get this show on the road. And I said, laugh out loud, get this show on the road. And they said yes, the Alliance, which includes the Galactics, have been waiting until the exact right moment, and now many truths will stream forth, and the awakening of the masses will see an exponential shift.
Mm.
They said those who were previously naysayers will become awake, and they will be in awe of what has been going on the whole time. They said the light of the people at the front, i.e., you and me, the light workers, they said is now so coherent and so strong and so welcoming. Imagine that. We're very welcoming, Michael.
Ah, I
Uh,
love it.
welcoming to the sleepers, I should say.
Definitely.
That that they will. They're saying that they will now run in our direction, and the vibration that we have been holding for so long will feel like home. And many will now look up and they will see the truth.
Hmm.
So then I said, So does this mean that our collective timeline has now moved to a higher frequency? And they said, absolutely. And I said, how did this happen? And they said, the work of the White Hats and the Alliance, and those who have stayed in their light and in their integrity, the light workers, they have helped the masses to turn a corner by holding their frequencies of truth with integrity and hearts of love. They have helped the masses to awaken. So then I asked, will everyone now awaken? And they said, to certain degrees, yes. And I said, to certain degrees. Because this was surprising to me, because some people, I could never see it happening at all. They said for some, it will go more slowly than others, but no one will now be left behind.
Wow.
They said there is enough lift to envelop everyone, and all souls can now come through this if they so choose. And I said, if they so choose. And they said, if at a soul level the person has agreed to awaken, then this will now be the time. And I said, so what's going to happen to those awaken? But they said, and this surprised me, they said at this time now, at this level of consciousness, all will choose to awaken in some form or another. And I said, in some form or another. And they said, everyone will awaken at their own pace. The pace is not now important. The important thing is that everyone is starting to awaken, so that we are all starting to walk in the same direction. And I said, same direction. And they said, yes, home. And I said, what is home? And they said, home is the place where all souls can rest eternally in the love of God's consciousness. And I said, is everyone now walking in this direction, or are some still standing still? And they said, all are now walking in this direction. Some are way in front, setting the pace for the others and creating the energetic grooves, which are like a roadmap for the others. And I said, so how do the others, the masses, how do they read these energetic grooves? This roadmap, how do they do it? Because you and I understand energetic grooves. I wondered how they would. And they said that their hearts will hear, feel and see these energetic imprints or grooves, and it will lead them forward. So they're saying that their heart will feel it. And then I said, do the people know that they are being led by their heart through the energetic grooves and the roadmap? And they said, their soul knows instinctively to do this now that they are awake. So they're kind of implying that everyone at some level has got some sort of awakening and radar to these energetic grooves that you and I have been, putting out for them, if you like. So I said, so just to confirm, are we saying that all beings on earth are now awake? But they said no. We are saying that collectively you have reached the tipping point, the 60% of collective light, and this then cascades over the masses like a wave or a blanket of love, and more hearts and souls are now beginning to stir. The pull from the frequencies of love, from the collective consciousness, are now guiding them to awaken. The power of the collective consciousness has reached critical mass.
Hmm.
And then they went on to talk about, I then went on to question about how this would affect Donald Trump, but perhaps you might want to break for a minute, or are you eager to know what I said next?
I'm very eager, but I just want to give everybody a little bit more background on you. I'm very curious too. How was it that you started with how old were you when you started to do the channel work?
So the channeling started, let me think where I am now, in about 2005.
Okay.
2005.
Hmm.
And at first, I could only channel angels, and
Hmm.
that took, I worked with them for 7 years, just angels.
Hmm.
And then,
Now with angels, how do you feel about the angels? Do you feel like you're from the angelic realm?
yes, because I get very confused with all these different beings.
Yeah,
When
good.
people,
Because I saw angel wings on you long ago. I was like, oh, another angel. So
uh,
it's fun to meet another angel. I don't always say, yeah, you're an angel, So some people I see them, we're actually quite rare, unfortunately, but I think some people are from the angelic realm, they just haven't got their wings back yet. So and I was like that for a long time. I didn't see my wings until like a couple of years ago. So it is interesting to see people that develop into their angelic. And how do you think that we're from the angelic realm? Do we? Because I feel like the angelic realm is like, it's like this the SEAL teams of the spiritual realm, and basically you have to be chosen. You have to go through you know basically uh, a course, for
yeah.
maybe hundreds of years, actually, maybe even thousands, I think, for some people, or for some souls. And it's very challenging. And although many would like to be angels, not everybody makes it. And of course, the archangels are even rarer still.
So what happened for me, Michael, was around the time of around 2002 to 2005,
Mhm.
I was going through a very intense legal situation with a divorce where we were trying to get custody and come back to our home country, and it became very complicated because of the two countries involved. And the long and short of it was that it went on for 3 years, and it just basically took everything from me, both financially, emotionally, everything, until I got to this point where I had to say, because I literally had nothing left, no resources of any kind. And one day I instinctively kind of threw up my hands, if you like, and said, if there's a God, then this is the time to make yourself known to me. And I was always very spiritual before that,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it was at that point that after I'd given permission, because I now understand that with a lot of these things, if you don't ask for the help, it can't always come forward. So because I'd made that decree, if you like, and I'd said, if you're there, can you please come now? All these synchronistic things started to unravel, which all taught me how it all works. How when you've got faith, how things could come in and help you at exactly the right moment. And you didn't see how that could have happened any way other than some force that's much bigger than yourself.
Mhm.
And so it kind of started from there. And then I was led to a teacher called Diana Cooper, who's British, and
Mhm.
she
Love her
teaches
work.
about, yeah, she teaches about angels.
Mhm.
And I was in a bookstore in London going through this horrific process with courts and going backwards and forwards between countries. And I was staying with a friend, and I was just looking for a book to read while I was waiting to go to this court hearing in a few days because I had nothing with me. I was just like traveling through. And this book about spiritual laws was right in front of me, and it was by Diana Cooper. And that became like my manual for life, because it
Nice.
taught me everything of how to manage energy, how to
Mm,
manage life's challenges, what life's all about really. And and it was from that point after that that I then was able to navigate life in a different way, in it from a
excellent.
place of faith. And the next time I was led to buy something, it was a very tiny sort of like crystal ball. And I just thought when I picked it up, well, that would look nice, like an ornament. But it came with a little manual, and it said, what you had to do. So I got this little ball, and I was going through this crisis in my life, and I was staring at this thing like, tell me the answers. And of course, I couldn't see anything because I was doing it from the wrong intention. And
Right.
after 2 days, it wasn't working, and I kind of said, "Oh well, I'm obviously if I'm supposed to see, then I will." And then it was immediately after that that I looked from a more relaxed gaze instead of doing this, and I realized that I actually had clairvoyance, and I could see in this crystal ball everything that was going to happen over the next 12 months.
Hmm.
And it just ran like a movie. And so I knew I was going to have to go back and sort this problem out in Spain. I knew exactly where I was going to live. But what it also started to teach me was things about angels and the universe. And it did it all through visuals,
Hmm.
because it knows I'm a very practical person. So I need to be able to kind of understand it in real terms, which is why I find quantum science quite difficult to understand. Um, but because they showed me everything in this crystal, and now I don't need it because it's all I can see it like
Right.
you do. You know how we kind of stretch our consciousness to that position and then we can kind of pick it up.
Very good.
But
Yep.
it was that tiny little crystal ball that started that process of being able to see the angels.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's
Yeah.
so our awakening was very pretty much along the same time frame.
Right.
2003 is when I had
Okay.
my Archangel Michael experience. So that's
Okay.
it's fascinating. Yeah, and then from there I just started seeing lots of amazing things and had these abilities, superpowers come through, and
Yeah.
uh, working with the angels and archangels and stuff like that, calling them in on certain occasions. So yeah, it's cool to see someone else. Now, I don't want to go too deep into it, but you actually uh, do courses as well. A Golden Heaven
Yeah.
on Earth. That's beautiful.
Oh. Yeah, so obviously I was teaching in groups live before obviously everything happened, but now you can go to certain apps which are listed under my YouTube channel. I think
Mm,
it's WISIO and Buy Me a Coffee, and you can pick up an e-course there. I'm not doing any one-on-one training at the moment, but you can have like soul readings with me.
hmm.
So, but I have been really busy with those, and I am just taking July and August a bit more calmly. So, if people do want to book things with me on a one-to-one basis, they might have a little bit of a wait at the moment, just so that people know that.
Yeah, you actually went through. They actually shut you down for a little period, didn't they?
They, well, Patreon went completely down overnight with no
Mm,
warning,
mm,
and their reasoning was that I hadn't done anything wrong within the guidelines of Patreon, but something that I'd posted on another platform, they said didn't fall within their guidelines. And I won't say that letter, but they
right.
said something that I had mentioned was within that theory, and therefore they had to take me down. And the problem with it was that was all my income and all my customers.
Uh,
And once they take you down, you've got no way of contacting your customers because all their info is in that app. And so unless people have since then have come to YouTube, and they can obviously email me and come back to me that way,
good.
i just lost all my I just lost all my customers.
Hmm.
But the universe looks after me. So I've actually been okay, Michael. I've actually enjoyed a bit of a rest. I've still been working, but I've just been taking it more steady, and it's actually been a lot better for me because I was kind of a little bit overwhelmed with work.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
in a way, the universe was kind of looking after me, I think.
Well, great. I'm glad you're still in there, still in the fight. So
Still in
so
the
let's
fight.
go, yes, let's go a little bit deeper. So we were talking about, that everyone's waking up. It seems like everyone's waking up.
Yeah.
I've seen it as well. I'm stunned. Uh I'm even seeing that there's probably going to be more people that are going to wake up, and they're saying that pretty much everyone is. And that's what, we heard from spiritual masters for many, many years. I'm like, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
because it was so bad there for a while, but it's good. It's looking pretty good today. And I think going forward, it's going to be pretty amazing.
I was watching a video that I did with Nick Veniamin back in, I think it was the beginning of the year, just to
Hmm.
see what I'd said actually, because I couldn't remember. But when I was looking at that video, because I also check in on my own energy of what's going on at the time, it was
Hmm.
so different, the collective energy just 5 months ago. I
Hmm.
could tell by the surroundings when I was homing in on what me and Nick were talking about. The energy has moved exponentially. And I think the thing is, for people like you and I, sometimes because we're in it, we don't notice it because we're already it.
Right.
It's not till you kind of look back at something older and you think, wow, when I look at that energy there 5 months ago, that was really heavy compared to where we are now.
Good
I
point.
don't know. I don't know if you kind of, if you ever look back at something, you kind of think, wow, that's moved a lot, you know?
Oh yeah, there's things because I have a resistance to seeing things at certain times when energy gets really dense.
Yeah.
Back in 2012, several months before December 21st, I was like, everyone was like, "Is the world going to end?" And I was like, "I don't see on the other side of it. I can't say that it's going to end, but I'm not seeing because I used to see well into the future, and it started
Yeah.
getting less and less and less, and then it just stopped. And then I felt like there was like another timeline that started to kick in, and we just kind of bounced over, and then I started seeing stuff in the future again. And
Yeah.
and that's the way it is now. I'm seeing I knew there was going to be a little um, uh, muddy waters going into the February and March timeframe, but I saw a clearing on the other side of that and growing uh, fairly rapidly. And I think we're in that clearing mode. Seems to be happening a lot faster than what I thought. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can see into the future a lot clearer. I'm getting more things again. So it's definitely clearing up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to hear that we're both getting that.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear someone else confirm it,
Hmm.
if you're feeling it as well, and then someone else says, "Oh yes, that's happening for me." But when I put out the tipping point critical mass video today, which is talking about what we're talking about right now,
Hmm.
I always learn a lot from the comments because people were saying that they were up at Glastonbury on Saturday.
Hmm.
Now, Glastonbury in the UK is the heart's chakra for the world, actually, and it had been struggling a little bit earlier in the year. It had some strange programming put in it or around it, or something strange was going on, and some light workers have been persistently working on it, and they said they were drawn to go there on Saturday, and when they did, they were told they were told in their channeling, or however they get their messages, that they had reached critical mass and that they'd had a turning point, and they were coming back with figures like 62%. And when I'm feeling into it now, I'm getting 64 to 65. So, compared to like just days ago, we were thinking it was about 58%. So something just in the last 7 days has moved it across. Now, whether that's the astrology or all these events that are going on around the world,
Hmm.
perhaps the one in Florida or Mr. Hancock in London, who knows?
Right.
Obviously it could be. it could be nothing to do with those things, but you know, whatever it is, all these, as they were explaining, all these little tiny pieces of light, when you put them all together, it is now moving exponentially.
Yeah, I agree. It's moving very quickly. Yeah, those few things that you mentioned are definitely wake up for people. I've been kind of focused on that, and I couldn't talk about something like Florida. I couldn't have talked about that, relating it to, the Twin Towers. I could not have talked about that, 4 or 5 years ago, and gotten the kind of response, positive response like you're talking about now. And 10 years ago, they probably would have been knocking on my door to take me away. So, if it happened back then. So, but of course, there's been a lot of that stuff that has been happening. But now, like we're seeing, people are waking up in mass, in a massive way. So but like you say, I like the way you and Nick put it, because Nick was saying analytically, he was looking at it's like, well, we're probably looking at another few months out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when he said that, I was like, I think it's gonna be a lot sooner. And here we are. So that's very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually expect it to be that quick, but I knew we were
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just incredible, really. It's given me this really big lift, because sometimes it can feel like we're kind of trudging through a little bit, can't it? You know, and you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
feel like you're on a bit of a hamster wheel, and maybe we're never going to make any progress, and then all of a sudden you get another big lift, and then you think, yeah, it's working. It's okay. We're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And that's the important thing, that everybody stays in the game, stays active. I try to keep people involved. Some people get down, of course, but it's like, just stay on point, stay focused. Everything that I've had manifest in my life is because I stayed focused on it, and it eventually manifested in its own time. So now we're seeing that it in its own time. It's just like everywhere I look, everything that I'm doing is it's beautiful. Now
Yeah.
we see problems like there in the UK. They've again locked you guys down. Australia, they've locked down. So there's some problems still. What do you see on your end as far as, like, that going forward? Is that going to be resolved? I think it gets resolved in a non, um, let's say, physical way. I think it's just because we all just wake up. That's what I keep getting. We're all just going to wake up, and it's just like they can't do their stuff anymore. I don't know how that's going to work
Yeah.
out, because being a very physical military guy in the past, I was like, how is that going to work? But then again, I've used my consciousness to shift reality, so it can happen. And if there's incredible numbers of people doing it, I can see that happening.
This is why I think that what happened in the USA with this delay, with everything not happening on the 21st of January, and then this situation where we have this false person at the front and our Mr. T in the background.
Hmm.
If you think about it, it's the best thing that could have happened. And
Absolutely.
because now we've got no you've got no war going on, we've got no fighting and arguing going on. People are now just realizing in their own time, oh, actually, that what we had before wasn't so bad. And that's a good way for it to happen without anything having to be blown up or anybody hurt or injured. Now, in the UK, we seem to be a little bit more dense in our consciousness. It's a lot heavier, I would say. So what we're needing to do this end is that the story has to be a lot more um, darker, if you like. So we're being locked down harder and for longer, because people in the UK don't seem to be responding as quickly as I think they need to be. They are responding, but there's still those that hardcore that still don't seem to be looking at anywhere but the BBC.
Hmm.
So the way I see the UK going at the moment is I think that we're going to have a similar pattern to what we had last year in terms of lockdowns. I think we're going to keep getting up to these sort of supposed dates where they're going to unlock us. So the next one is July the 19th. But already I'm seeing them saying, oh, the summer numbers are up. So they're already letting us know they've got no intention of opening us on in July. And I think they'll do that and they'll creep all the way up to September. And then I think we'll get a little window, and then we'll get, oh, you know, now it's the winter flu. And I see them
Mm.
trying to do what they did last year, where we possibly have a lockdown right up and over Christmas. And hopefully that then will be the final straw that breaks the camel's back, because I can't see everyone really putting up with that again. And you know, in the background, we've got little bits of information coming out all the time now, all the time, about statistics,
Mhm.
you know, government officials that have been up to all sorts and breaching the rules, and all these little things coming out. I'm hoping, you know, will all trigger this movement in the UK, which is very heavy and slow, very heavy and slow.
But there has been you guys had a really nice rally, like well over 1 million people
Yeah,
that rallied against the more current lockdown. You're supposed to come out of the lockdown, I believe, back in February 28th or so.
yeah,
Not February. I'm what June
yeah.
28th.
We've just gone past one of the dates when we were
Yeah,
supposed to be okay, and they
and
extended
they
it.
pushed it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's so everybody, got together. I saw a video of people outside of you know, some party members' houses yelling traitor and stuff like that. So, so it's getting a little tight out there. They
yeah,
got to be there. I think that they're getting a little nervous. I think they're
yeah,
getting really nervous,
yeah.
and they're trying very desperately, to keep their game going, and that just unravels it even faster, really.
You know, I always think, Michael, and I'd like to know what you think, but I think all of these things are in white hat control.
Hmm.
I don't think it's I don't think the black cats have got as much operational control as people like to think. What I'm always told is that the white hats have operational control and the black hats have psychological control, i.e., fear.
Right.
But in terms of what's actually going on operationally, and you will understand this being, you know, an operational military guy, you know, what's actually going on the ground compared to what people psychologically think is going on. The white they constantly tell me that the white hats have it. The white hats have it.
Hmm.
So these dark storylines that like being locked down and even maybe what happened in Florida, I still feel that, you know, a lot of that is white hat controlled. Um, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it gives me a little bit of a pause to see an event like that happen in Florida. Of course, the White Hats aren't going to allow anything to happen. They're not going to do anything like that. And
No.
if they could prevent one death, I think the White Hats would do it. So this is out of desperation. That's what I'm talking about. That the Black Hats are still pulling their little tricks. There's talk that John McAfee, who I think is not
Yeah.
dead, they basically spirited him away because he has evidence on a lot of these bad characters, bad players. And I think I saw some talk that he might have had a condo there and might have had information there that would be very revealing. So
Yeah.
they dropped those buildings. So that's that's what I'm getting. That's it's definitely not a natural occurrence. And there's a lot of things that are very similar to the 9/11 buildings, where there's
Yeah.
like there's still a fire going on. There's still smoke coming out of them. That kind of leads me to believe that some of that metal is still burning. So that's very, very super high temperatures that were used to bring those buildings down, like the directed energy weapons, or maybe some, you know, types of um, metal burning material that the black hats have access to. That's super high tech.
So I got the same as you, that it was a DEW, and uh, the John McAfee. I've been told that he's under military protection.
Mm.
But what I was getting at with the Florida event, are there actually any people in there that have died, or is that just something you're being told? Um, do we know if there is actually people that have been caught in that building as it went down, or? Do we actually know that?
That's a good question because
Have you seen anyone
uh,
being put out?
I haven't seen anybody pulled out, and they're putting out really big numbers of people that are still missing. When I look at it, I don't get that. I'm like, why are they putting out these big numbers? I'm not getting those big numbers.
This is why
And
I'm
initially it
wondering.
was only like 4 people, and I was like, if there were people in those buildings, they would have a fairly good body count already. So you might be hitting on something there. Maybe there's nothing there. So very
Well,
good.
my feeling is that the white hats, not, I'm not saying that the white hats would deliberately cause any death, because that's not how they operate. They're completely opposite. But
Hmm.
what if that building was brought down by them because they knew nobody was going to be hurt, but there was another reason? It was a distraction from something else.
Hmm.
Because we've had a lot of distractions the last few days. You've had Mr. T's rally. We've had the building go down.
Hmm.
We've had our lovely Mr. Hancock. And I know he's not worthy of world recognition in terms of news, but there's been a lot of sudden activity and distractions, and I'm wondering if it's something else that they're trying to distract us from. So while we're all looking at that building, um, one of the ideas that came into my mind is I've been hearing about that new financial system. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the words on here, and I don't actually know where we're up to with that financial system, but
Hmm.
I was wondering if it was a distraction from that.
Possible. Could be possible because that's the way it's been played out in the past by the black hats. So it's
Yeah.
I I don't know. We'll see. I think over time, because they're dragging this out, obviously. So everyone's kind of like watching that, but there's no real news coming out of it. So that's a tell in and of itself. When these operations go down there, when you don't hear a lot
Yeah.
and you don't hear a lot of stuff from the black hats, it means they didn't have their game plan ready. So there
Yeah.
might be something there because kind of saw that in the ship in the canal as well. So
Yeah.
uh, good
So
point.
I did actually ask uh, those questions, but they just kept denying them. So sometimes they won't give me the answers because
Absolutely. Yep.
it's not going to benefit anyone by knowing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
It could create the opposite for
Right.
us having that information. So I did say, was it a distraction, the condo collapse? They said it was a distraction. I said, what are they distracting us from? Denied.
Right.
I said, was it anything to do with child trafficking or anything to with maybe a tunnel underneath? They said denied.
Mm.
I said, was it the start of that financial system in other countries? Denied.
Whoa.
Can you tell me anything about the condo collapse? Was it weakened structures through the salt erosion? No.
Absolutely not. Yep.
Was it a white hat operation? Yes.
Ooh. Okay.
So that I know that that sounds a little bit counterintuitive,
Mm-hmm.
as they wouldn't go into that. We know, you and I, that there's no way they would perform something that was going to injure people unnecessarily.
Right.
If it was to create a distraction and they knew they could remove the people, then it's a possibility. I am just kind of playing a bit with ideas, so I obviously don't know for sure, but I just thought that was quite interesting. And I did get, when I looked at the building, the first reaction I got was, that's been done to the building. That isn't natural.
Right.
And I got exactly what you got,
Mm-hmm.
that something has been done to it. Because also the way that the flashes were all going off in down the sides, they were going off. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
They were going off at the same time in a sequence. And I mean, I haven't seen very many buildings collapse in my lifetime, but to me that seemed a little bit suspect, that like it had been rigged or something like that as well. So I
Right.
don't.
Yeah. Controlled demolitions. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
absolutely, it was absolutely either controlled demolitions or some type of, or maybe in a combination with, um, directed energy weapons. And it could be, the White Hats perform that operation. So, if we're not getting any real, death from that, or maybe they planted some deaths, because I mean, they planted, dead bodies on the, JFK, plane
yeah,
that
yeah,
supposedly went down, but they were already dead, and so it's not like they killed somebody and put them on that plane. So there's, definitely something to what you're saying, because I suspected there was something more to this, and I wasn't quite getting it. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
very possible. Yeah. Um,
When you say it's a direct energy weapon, is
mhm.
that like, can you explain to me how that works? Is that like a beam, a beam of
Right.
light,
Yep.
something, and it just
So,
kind of, does it
so
neutralize,
microwave beams. Yep.
does it like kind of neutralize the whatever it touches? How does it work?
It's super high, energy and heat basically that comes in, and
Right,
they start forest fires with it.
I've seen that.
In 9/11, they basically were, vaporizing, turning it to dust. Dustification was happening with, steel structures that were still standing. You could see them like get hazy and then just turn to dust.
Yeah,
And then we saw, many of the cars, because whatever beam they had would like rake over the cars that were
yeah,
parked,
yeah,
and, the cars would have all of their paint burned off, like the glass melted. Uh, but right next to that spot where evidently the beam didn't go by, the paint's perfect, the back seat's perfect. There's no burn marks, anything. So, and the
yeah.
plastic, if it was metal, gone. Plastic, no problem. Just like we put plastic in a microwave. So it's, definitely out there. Same thing happened in, California. There's Paradise, burn that happened in California, Northern California. It was a little city. The homes were like just absolutely devastated, but the trees were like hardly touched right next to them. And supposedly that happened from a forest fire, but a forest fire just come in and like, take homes down to their basically dustification, and right next to that is a child's place plastic play center, right next to the, home that just went down, and then across the street the homes are not touched. So it's definitely,
Yeah.
they come in with these beamed energies. Either they come in from a satellite, from a plane, or maybe other sources, but usually from the air.
Another thing that I noticed about the news report was that, you have those dogs that go in after to try and find people. They showed a couple of guys at the foot of where the collapse had happened with two dogs that just were standing there, and they weren't eager. Now dogs, if they are trained to find people, they're ready to
Good
go,
point.
aren't they? They're ready
Good
to
point.
go. They're like, come
Yeah.
on, let's get going. And they were just sitting there, which suggests to me that there was nothing in there for them to go and find because they weren't even interested, so
Wow. Good.
if you
I
look at
saw
that.
that too. I was looking at, well, those dogs are gonna be like,
Yeah,
they're very active, and they
yeah,
weren't. They were just like you
yeah,
said, on the
very
periphery,
active.
not doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not what I mean. They would be hyped up, ready to go, wouldn't they? They would be, they're trained to let's get going. And the fact that they were just sort of standing there, very calmly, to me, that didn't seem right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely something else there. So
So,
I'm
yeah,
definitely going to look at that.
yeah.
And
Let
if
me know
that's,
what you find.
what's that?
Let me know what you find.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the chat is blowing up over here, and, we got quite a lot of people watching us live. So well over
Really? Oh,
4,000. Yeah. So it's nice. So this channel was locked down for a couple of weeks, and, so I'm back on it again. So this is a perfect way to bring it live again with this nice show with your information. So what else do you find from the archangels and the angels? What, when you work with a client and they're interested in, what the archangels and, the angels have for them, what do you normally, find?
What I do when I'm working with people in groups is I teach them how to actually get to know their own angel, because as I was saying, from my own experience, if I can't feel it or see it or touch it, I have great difficulty understanding it. And I think a lot of people are like that.
Right.
So the way that I teach people is how to have their own experience, because then you can't deny it. So I teach them how to know when an angel's making contact with you, what that might feel like, or what you might see, or what you might hear, and how they use different ways to come into our lives to get information to us. And I teach them that this angel is there all the time. We've all got an angel. We've all have a guardian angel. And then once you get that sort of clear, and they are secure and confident with working with their guardian angel, what I then do is introduce one archangel at a time, because each archangel will present in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So it will present either in the way that it will speak differently, or it will look different, feel different. And then you get to know, say, Archangel Michael, and then you've got that in your spiritual toolbox. So now you've got your
Mm-hmm.
guardian angel, who sounds like this and does these types of things. And then you've got Archangel Michael that can help you with protection, and he looks like this and he sounds like this. And then you just kind of build up the whole team of people around them. And of course, as you're doing that, each time you're building up their light and their consciousness levels. And then eventually you get them up to a level where you can teach about, say, spiritual law, and what we're going through right now, the ascension process.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I tap into people's angels, or see them with their wings or not with their wings, or I tell them, you don't have your wings yet, but like me, you keep working towards the light and they'll come out. So
Yeah.
there's lots of I think there's a lot of different ways that people can tap into the angelic realm, and it's very, very powerful. For me, I use it basically to go after the demonic realm. Being a
Yeah.
warrior, it's worked quite well for me, and I've been able to take out quite a lot of very bad people. Do you do any work like that, or how do the angels work for you?
I find it fascinating that I know when certain people are trying to. I get remote viewed a lot by people that don't have good intention,
Huh.
because I can see them.
Hmm.
So when they remote view me, and you can see them sort of making a decision, am I going to go for an attack on this person?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about the angelic energy that deters them. It's almost like, I think angelic energy is like a mirror. And if you send bad at angelic energy, it will kind of come back at you like a million times more strong. So
Mm-hmm.
often I see people kind of in the periphery, um, wanting to create an attack psychically or something like that, or have bad intention, but for some reason that angelic light is blinding. It's like armor. It's armor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if that fails, or I feel that fail is probably not the right word, but if I feel like I need a bigger backup, then I would normally call in, the Archangel Michael team, and he often works with somebody called Commander Ashtar, who I don't know if you're familiar with.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but Commander Ashtar and Michael are my go-to two people,
Mm-hmm.
because they work together and they seem to have between them the right tools, that if your angelic energy doesn't distract people or repel them, then those two kind of come in like a Navy SEAL on each arm, and you kind of feel like you're protected when you have them around you.
Yeah,
So they're like
definitely.
my two go-to people. Who do you go to for? Do you have a specific angel or routine that you use to create that energy around you, that
Usually,
protect?
I put up the love vibration. There was one time where I was working on a couple of demonics. That would be the two people at the very top of the political system we have here, and they had some pretty bad ones. And when I came in, and they came off of those physical entities and started to come at me, I just instantly armored up with the armor of God, and I never had done that before. And I was like, oh, I can do this. So shield came out, sword came out, it was like boop, 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 boop. And then I went to battle. So it was pretty good. I think, as you know, I would never have done that in the beginning. The first time I ever went out after a demonic realm person, I was seeing my death 2 days later, and then saying, "Oh, it's too bad. I felt like I could help humanity." And then Archangel Michael showed up and said, "We're going to put you back in." So put me back in time, back in my body. And I was like, "Whoa, oh!" And then an explosion happened in the distance. I'm like,
Mm.
"Whoa, what was that?" So over time, I kind of like came to a realization that I've been, put back in to fight for the team, because I basically wanted to. And I think we have that choice.
Yeah.
I've seen that over time where people, seem to have a choice whether it's their time or not. I saw that with my parents, my grandparents, and my great grandparents. The guys always left first, and then the women within a year were out too. So even though they're super healthy, at the time of death. So it's interesting to see that we have these powers, all of us, like you're talking about. We connect with the angelic realm. And when I get over my head, when I go in and I'm helping other people or their children, their children, whatever, that are having problems, or I go after, like when I went after Kim Jong Un, yeah, I had to call in the entire angelic realm, because they knew I was coming to work on him, and they had all the baddies, and I was like, "Ooh!" So I just call them in, and boom, they're there, and it's the battle's on. So it's interesting. We can call them in, like, and I tell everybody that too. You can always call in your angels. Now the archangels, I've worked with a lot of them, and it's not just when you're in need as far as battle. I've had Raphael come in to help me write my last book. So
Oh wow.
it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different things that you can call in the archangels for.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. So this is why I like channeling in my house, because they reside kind of all around my house as a team. And
Nice.
like, you actually have a ship above you protecting you. You have the galactics above you, and so
Right.
do I. So do I.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that, when we get into these situations where our energy is needed to help with those big guns that you're talking about, these demons and things,
Mm-hmm.
even if we're not necessarily aware that we're doing it, they know, and they protect us. Even if we forget to ask, they're always there protecting us all the time.
Agreed. Yep.
Just creating armor around our possessions and our loved ones, because it's not our time yet. We're needed here right now in this spiritual war.
Absolutely. So, are there any last words you'd like to leave everyone with, Michelle?
Well,
And
when you
and
keep
how
talking
can they reach you?
Well, when you keep talking about the love vibration, I saw today that Lenny Kravitz is running. He's starting a tour or an album called the Love Vibration or something like that.
Oh my God.
I think you should go and speak on his tour, because I think he would absolutely love, someone like you to.
Yeah.
He's a man.
I've always liked Lenny. So I saw
Yeah,
him in Vegas, and I was right
yeah,
in the front. Yeah, he's got great energy.
yeah.
He is a good man. Yeah.
I've been to his concerts about 3 times, not in Vegas, but in Europe.
Mm,
And he's a man of God, and
yeah.
as you know, he starts his concert with a prayer and a dedication to God. And as I said, his latest tour, or I don't know how he's doing that, if he's out and about or he's doing it on Zoom or however people do tours nowadays. But it's called something like the Love Vibration, and you've
Wow.
said that to me a couple of times in our interview. And I thought that was interesting that I just saw that from him
Mhm.
before I came on. So I'm wondering if there's a link there between you and Lenny Kravitz. Perhaps you need to make contact with him.
All right.
Um, the only other information I've got is I've got a little bit of information about Mr. T. If you want me to say
Yeah,
about that.
let's do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So when I was talking to them about this kind of shift that we're currently now going into, this tipping point, this forward momentum we seem to be going into now, then obviously my next question was, you know, what does this mean for Mr. T? And how is that going to manifest going forward? And they said that he will be rightfully announced the winner of the election in 2020. That will be rightfully announced. And then I said, will Mr. T step back into the role of president going forward? And they said no. There is something not yet known to the masses. And I said, and I get this a lot, this is not just new, I've been getting this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when will this become apparent? And they're saying that it's still being decided. And I'm saying, so is it likely to be that there's going to be another Trump that's going to take the role? Or will it be a person that's nominated that will take the USA forward? And they said, not exactly. So now I was really confused. So I said, can they explain? And they said, many changes are still ahead of us worldwide, and the political landscape is going to dramatically change in all corners of the globe. And Mr. T may continue to operate from a strategic role rather than a premier role. So I see that as what he's doing right now, because he's obviously, in my opinion, he's in charge, working with the military, but he's behind the scenes. So he's working strategically behind the scenes. And they seem to be suggesting that that's going to continue for some time. So I said, does this mean that during these times of this worldwide change, that the military will maintain control? And they said yes. And I said, is this likely to take years or months? And don't shoot the messenger, people. Is it likely to take years or months to finalise this worldwide restructuring? And they said 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, I get I see like I saw over 3 years at least. Because there's a mopping up or wrapping up operation in every war that we've ever been in, and this will be no different.
So then I said, is this worldwide restructuring also to allow for the new quantum systems like Starlink? And they said exactly. And then I said, so just to clarify, will all nations become nations where the military and or the alliance are in control? And they said yes, exactly. So what you've got going on in the US at the moment with this strategic leader that's kind of behind the scenes, and the military, even if it's not necessarily been broadcast as such, it looks like this is how they're set up around the world. So and I think that's what's going on in the UK. I think the UK is under military control as well. I really do. So then I said, so when will the new leaders and this voting take place? And they said again, 2 to 5 years using the quantum voting system, which is the delay again might be because we're waiting on that that Starlink system to be properly up and running. I mean, I know it's up and running, but it's just like a skeleton operating system right now.
Right.
Because just to fill that in a little bit, people think that that system is just all about Elon Musk. But each country, the way it's been described to me, has their part in the infrastructure. So in the UK, our part of the infrastructure is going to be called OneWeb. So each part of the world will have their part inside this huge infrastructure called Starlink. So no one country will have control over it. There'll be a lot of stops and balances in there so that no one country could sort of take over the entire thing. So maybe that's what is needing to happen next, is we're needing to get all the countries' individual parts of their Starlink up there. so that the whole system can run as one. Does that make sense, Michael, what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the Sterling system, there's going to be lot of stuff that are going to be involved with that. Is maybe internet level. It could be the new internet for a little period of time. Quantum financial system could be operated through that, because it'll
Yeah,
be the transaction will be just super fast,
yeah,
beyond instantaneous almost, you know.
yeah,
So I think that has a way of bypassing the controls that are on the earth level. The internet system down here is really compromised, as we're seeing.
yeah,
Financial system obviously very compromised. Political system compromised by the voting problems. So all of that could be taken to space and done a lot more efficiently.
yeah, I think so too. So then I said, when will the masses know that Trump, Mr. T, officially won in 2020? Because we're all kind of waiting on this big reveal, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I put down on my pad, is it going to be August 2021? Do you want me to tell you what they said?
Go for it.
They said there's a possibility, but it is open to more questioning and delays.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it might run as far as into June 22. That is more likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what could make the delays go that far, other than I did hear you speaking about they might extend the A word. I don't know if we're allowed to say the A word, where they look at everything again to other parts of your
Right.
country.
Right.
Of course, if they start going into more detail and spreading it out, that's going to delay the whole thing quite dramatically, isn't it? The timeline is going to slow right down. What do you think?
Oh, most definitely, because it took so long there in Arizona, and they still haven't revealed what they found. Although there is talk that it's supposedly going to be revealed today. We'll see.
Oh,
These times
right.
come and go.
Yeah.
So I don't wrapped up in the times. Just like we're talking about right now. I remember when Wano Savin came on my show and said that Biden would be elected, uh, and everyone blew a switch. Now everyone wants to know the truth, and they're like, "Tell us the truth, tell us what you haven't told us 100 times." And then Juan came out with that, and everyone blew a fuse.
Exactly.
So people might be blowing a fuse right now with
Yeah.
your, well, Trump might not actually come back, and I can see that actually as a positive, guys. So of course, someone that would be a good person would be in charge, and maybe he would be, or she might be there temporarily until the situation, like we're talking about, it takes time to get these people, and to make sure their systems are completely down and can't hurt us. So don't get wrapped up in days. Don't get wrapped up in who, because really everyone here should be waking up on their own, not waiting for someone to save them. That's not what this is this time.
And really, what this is all about right now is this integrity of what's going on with
Mhm.
that process. We need to get that sorted properly. So
Right.
we don't really want to be, I mean, Mr. T hasn't actually gone anywhere. He's just working strategically. And, that thing that we have, Mr. B, I did ask about him. I
Mm-hmm.
said, so how is the story going to play out with Mr. B?
Mm-hmm.
And they said that at the moment he serves a purpose, because it's showing those who voted for that party, um, and their policies, how it doesn't serve humanity. And so, in a way, in a in a counterintuitive way, Mr. B is waking the people up. So,
Yeah.
actually, the whole plan is working perfectly. And when I look at it, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a perfect strategy. So why rush it? Why rush it? Working at the moment is keeping the country calm.
Mm-hmm.
You've got our main man doing the strategy, so that means he hasn't stepped down or gone away. He's still in control. You know, and we're getting these great rallies with him again now, which always cheer me up. I don't know about you.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Cause he always comes out, swinging pretty hard and everybody gets fired up. It's a lot of
Yeah,
fun, cause
yeah,
he speaks the truth and everybody's like somebody is speaking the truth, so it makes a difference, I think. And it's part of that awakening process, like you're talking about. And I agree with you. If more people can wake up, and we don't have any, kinetic problems, where people, you know, do harmful things to others. I think that's worth waiting for. Uh,
yeah.
and and
Well,
I'm very patient. I'm very patient, and I think everyone needs to have some of that right now. You feel like everyone that's watching right now. You've been patient. You've been very giving. You've been forgiving as well. I think as we go forward, there's going to be a lot more of that because like
yeah,
Michelle was talking about, a lot of people are going to start running to us and saying, oh, teach me what it's like, I can't believe it took me, I was believing these lies for so long. And that's okay because people can wake up very quickly.
yeah,
I'm like, oh man, it took me decades to get that remote viewing down. You got it down in one session. That's good. I like that. That's my teaching abilities are good, but also because people are waking up like you're talking about. They
yeah,
couldn't get this stuff before
yeah,
because I tried to teach it, and but people are really getting it now, and it's because, like you're talking about, the consciousness is allowing it to come through.
yeah. So my last two things before probably you want to finish the show. I just said, isn't it a dangerous game to allow Mr. B to continue in that supposed
Right.
position?
Mm-hmm. Good
And
question.
they said, well, they just said, as they always say to me, that the White Hats and Alliance are in control. So don't
Mm.
worry about it. They know what they're doing, basically. And then I asked, what was Mr. T's percentage win? And they said 85%.
Ooh,
So it was massive, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Massive.
yeah. I always said 80 and maybe even 85. So it's good to hear it from another source because
Yeah.
other people were saying, he probably won maybe 70, 60, 70%. I was like, no, it's all the way up in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
So I've always gotten that. And
Yeah.
that cure that they keep telling us that so many people are getting, I don't think that many people are getting that, you know. So that's just because they always seem to fudge those numbers on polls and who's got what, and how many people died of this and that, and like we're seeing, like we talk about in Florida. So they've always manipulated these numbers. When I see numbers, I'm like, that doesn't feel right to me. So it
Yeah.
doesn't feel right to me that many people. Otherwise, why would they be giving away all these free gifts and
Yeah.
coercing people to do it? And you can't work if you don't have it. You can't travel if you don't have it. So I think it's a good sign that really not that many people did do that, and that some of the people that got it, because a lot of people say, why did Mr. Why did Trump push that so hard in the beginning? Because it was a good source that wasn't going to cause harm, and he knew that, and he wanted to get out as fast as he could
Yeah.
because he knew what would happen once he was gone. So that's because he doesn't promote it anymore. He stopped promoting it. He doesn't believe that children should get it at all. So he's doing what he can. So people are, and why did he do that? Like we're talking about, because people are waking up to it. So now he can really start to filter some of that in. But you can't go full on. Just like I talked about in the beginning, from pretty much very shortly after 9/11, I was saying there's some problems here. So as a demolition expert, I was like, oh, that doesn't happen that way, guys. It's never happened in history that a building has dropped in its footprint like that, and
Yeah.
from burning. uh so it took time for people to wake up to that. Look how long. I mean, how many people are still believing that it really happened, that a jet crashed into it and little fuel burning, collapsed, melted through all of the sports structures all the way across, so that perfectly all failed at the exact same time, and it just pancaked down within itself. And as some of the firemen are coming in, they notice that there were bomb blast damage all the way down in the lobby and down in the basement. So they were
Absolutely.
already they'd already blown out some of the support structures to begin with, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it takes time for people to wake up. So that's what we're going through right now, you know, that they basically stole something from us, and we're going to hold them accountable. You know, you don't someone can, if someone were to murder someone in your family, would you want oh, they got away, so we're not going to look for them? No, you want to, like, you know, make sure justice is done. So that's what we're doing. We're making sure the crime scene is basically, you know, very carefully analyzed, like they're doing in
Yeah.
Arizona, and probably going to start to in other states very soon. And that we basically map it out. It's like, okay, there was a crime committed here. This who was involved. Uh, so there's been a lot of people, because Guantanamo Bay is massive compared to what it was before Trump came in office. And
Yeah.
I've even remote viewed it, and there's underground facilities with that submarines can come in and enter as well. So there's you know, you can look at satellite photos of Guantanamo now. It's a no-brainer. It's lot there's a lot of there's a lot of capacity there. And of course, I think that some of that capacity, as people come in, unfortunately some of those people go away, you know, not too long after they come in. And not unfortunately in the way that, you know, because they've done some horrendous crimes, but unfortunately because they've gotten away with it for so long, and it's just now they're maybe being held accountable for it.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so there was one more thing you want to bring up?
No, I think we've covered everything. Let me
Did
just
we?
check.
Oh,
Yeah. Unless you have a question that I might know off the top of my head, you never know. Is there
no, I
anything else?
think we've gone far down the rabbit hole. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are going to be happy with this one. We'll be
The
able to
only
leave.
thing, the only thing I
Yeah.
would add is with the this, so you have
Yeah.
to be careful with the word.
Right.
I've always got with that, what firstly what you were saying, that we can't trust the figures of anything they
Oh,
say around
good. Good.
that.
Okay.
I've always said we can't trust the figures. And the second thing that they've been telling me from about 5 or 6 months ago is that something that is going into those, it will be possible at some point in the future that the white hats might be able to use some of those ingredients to help us to reverse things that may
Yes.
be,
Yes. Good.
that
Mhm.
may be causing problems for those that did go ahead and did get one that wasn't of the the Mr. T collection.
Right.
I'm trying to use my words carefully because I don't
Yeah,
want
you're
us.
doing good. I appreciate that, because
I don't want to.
I think we got a bombshell right here. So we'll be able to leave this one up, and then it'll do really well. We have over 5,000 you know, viewers right now, so
Oh,
that's a good
that's
sign. So they
incredible.
really came in on this one.
Yeah, hello people. So I think there's going to be some big twist to that whole storyline. And
Mhm.
just going back to what you said about Mr. T, he had to produce something because some people needed something, because they were in fear, and for them that was the
Good point.
only way they were going to
Hmm.
move forward with their lives. So, there will always be some people that wanted that as an option, whether
Right.
it was good inside of it or bad. Um, and I've been outspoken about what I think is going on with those, and I've had a lot of backlash because of it. But it's not my own personal opinion, but it does resonate with me when they teach me this stuff, and some of it I still don't totally understand, because we're moving into sort of nanotechnology, and I find that quite hard to understand. And in fact, look what I bought today.
Wow.
And I'm also
Good
talking.
reading for when you're locked down. That's good. Yeah.
I've also been talking to a brilliant lady called Marina Jacobi, who I can recommend. She understands quantum consciousness and this reversal of what's going on
Right.
at a very high level, way beyond anything I can understand.
Mm,
If you had compared us side by side, I'm like teaching at infant school level, and this lady is teaching at like PhD level. And if you go to her website, you can donate and you can download some really interesting information. So this is like one of the ones that she produces, and
mm,
I highly recommend that if you want to understand the quantum science
mm.
and how it links in with what's spiritually happening right now, then go to her site and get some information down. And if you're like me, you probably won't understand most of it, but if you have a scientific brain,
Mm.
it explains what they've been trying to teach me, but like obviously much bigger. So that
Excellent.
from a very simplistic point of view, they've tried to teach me that any materials that might be causing magnetism or reactions in future, they'll be able to use, and this is the way they teach it to me, they'll be able to use light and sound and Tesla healing to reverse, um, not necessarily all the damage, but to be able to work with you to help you through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the med bed technologies that we have in the space program, secret space program, are super, super advanced. We're not going to see those right away. But we'll see ones that basically, like you're talking about, have different frequencies, different light technologies. I've been to some of those already. They're very effective. Uh, and I think they're a little bit more high speed. Some of the stuff that's coming out, there's some brilliant people out there that are releasing some really amazing, you know, uh, prototypes. I think that is more of a that's allowable in the future, because some of these people have told me how they've been approached and said, "Don't talk about this being effective for this, and we'll let you go." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Some of the people I used to work with. So there's a lot of freedom that's going to come for that in the future, but we have to get through, this little glitch in the matrix that we have right now. That in Arizona, I think is going to be a big reveal, and that domino, once it starts to fall, will speed the process up, and then we can move to other areas of the world that are being locked down. So, like we both see, America is going to be the reveal for the world, the turning point, the tipping
Yeah,
point, and and we'll look back on T pushing that thingy, and we'll be very happy that he did, because it opened up America very quickly, or made it possible. Of course, there's still states that are locked down in America, but and then still restrictions in a lot of states. But in some states, like I'm in Florida right now, pretty much wide open. Even some of the hotels, when I first got here a few weeks ago, some of the people that were in the hotels were still wearing masks. They're not wearing the mask now. Um, uh, and a lot of some of the restaurants had masks. Almost no restaurant has a mask now. The people in the stores, the clerks in the stores and stuff, they ring up your, uh, you know, bill for your groceries and stuff. They're not wearing masks anymore. So it's really starting to turn,
yeah,
more and more and faster and faster. I even snuck into the airport a few days ago without a mask, and was wandering around in there without a mask. And while they're broadcasting, "You will be fined and put away," and I could see that the security guys like walking by. Of course, I wasn't meeting their eye, but they were walking by and completely ignoring me. So I was like, "Yeah, we need more of us do this." And then when I went downstairs to do the luggage thing, half the people, I started a trend. Half the people started taking off their masks. So,
interesting. When you
yeah,
don't wear a mask, how many people want to come and talk to you? Because even if they're
yeah,
staff
yeah.
in a restaurant or something, and they have to wear it as part of their job, they're just so pleased that there's someone else that's not wearing a mask, and they come right up to you and they forget all about social distancing,
Oh yeah, it's
and
gone.
they just
Yeah.
want to talk. They
Oh
just want
yeah,
to talk, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Beautiful.
what, just one last thing that I don't know if you might know about this, but one lady contacted me some time ago now when I first started saying that there was a twist with all of this, and that as far as I was aware, that the good ones had been tracked all the way through from manufacture to distribution, so that they couldn't be turned into anything nefarious.
Hmm.
And this lady contacted me and said that her son was in the military, and that was one of their tasks, that they had to escort these materials from start to finish and not let them out of their sight, so that they couldn't be tampered with.
Hmm.
Now, that might only, be in the USA, that might not be going on around the world, but my feeling right now feels like they're telling me that been where they've been able to, they've tried to replicate that everywhere.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's a big world. There's 7 billion people. That's not to say that some didn't fall through the net, but
Right.
overall, I think that they've tried to keep everything as safe as possible.
Yeah, I feel that they're actually stopping some of them out. There's some batches that they, like you're talking about, they know about,
Yeah,
uh, and they're hijacking them so they don't get out. But they're not able to stop everything. They're
no,
very sneaky. They're very, as we know, for dealing with them for millennia. They can they have evil ways of and very clever ways of doing their little dastardly work. So, Michelle, how can people get hold of you if they want to?
so the best way to get hold of me is to go to my YouTube channel, and when we can drop the information down in there, there's lots of different information about my website, my how you can email me, my different apps that you can buy courses from,
Hmm.
things like that.
Excellent. And I'll copy and paste those into my information box so that anyone that's watching this can easily jump down and see it in mine. But definitely check out Michelle's information. It's absolutely. I've been following you for a little while now, Michelle. So I'm very, very happy to finally connect with you. Hopefully, we'll get to get together again in the near future and talk some more. So thanks for joining me, and thanks for everyone else that joined us. Lots of love out there. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you very much for having me.